Transformers Rise of the Beasts, let's talk about spoilers. The plot itself, we already went over the way that it is formatted in my last video, but does it do that format well? Actually it does. This is one of the things I meant whenever I said that this movie did learn from the past movie's mistakes. Revenge of the Fallen has a plot very similar to this, where they go from where they originally were across the world because there's something ancient they need to find, except this one, the style of it, the way that it is formatted, feels more organic and natural. Where Revenge of the Fallen, they had to coincidentally stumble upon Jetfire to be transported to where they needed to go, and then they coincidentally fell in the right place, even though Jetfire even said that his space bridge teleportation wouldn't necessarily work the way that he thought it would, and it's a miracle they didn't make it to space. Yeah, that kind of stuff, that wasn't here. They figured out where they needed to go, and yes, coincidences were involved. That's how we push these plots forward. That's Transformers live action movies. It is what it is, but it never quite felt forced. It actually felt like it was trudging along at a pace that it was designed to trudge along at, and realistically, if these coincidences lined up, it would be able to. Instead of explaining the entire time difference in and of itself, there's just a line where Optimus Primal says, "We are your future and we are your past," which that worked pretty well, honestly. I'm glad they didn't go in and try to make this some extremely complicated thing, because that would have been a huge turnoff to the new viewers, the new fans, the live action only people that don't even know the Maximals exist. So I'm glad that they went in a more easy to digest route, especially for a popcorn flick like this, and I'm hoping that it convinces somebody to jump on a animated Transformers, maybe go to Beast Wars, or at least, regardless of my issues with the War for Cybertron trilogy, go and check out the part of it that is about the Maximals, because although it's not perfect in any way, shape, or form, and it may not have all the bells and whistles in the right places, it does have a lot of heart, and it tries to do that well, and I have a lot of problems with it that we will get in the future, but not here. When it comes to the MacGuffin, they also left it broad enough that you could easily understand that it was just a powerful tool that could be make it or break it for planets, and that's really all you needed to know in order for the stakes to go up, because you needed to know that it could be the savior of Cybertron, but also know that it could be the destruction of Earth. When it comes to that in general, I think that they handled it well. Now let's talk about the things from the past movies that they did not learn from. I already brought it up once, but I'm so freaking ticked off about it that we're bringing it up again, just because in G1, Wheeljack was my favorite, in Prime, Wheeljack was my favorite. In the War for Cybertron trilogy, I was disappointed that he was sidelined as much as he was, but hey, I like Wheeljack, okay? I'm a big fan of Wheeljack. The way that his they look like ears and they blink sometimes in some iterations, it's just so cute. I freaking love him. He's a smart guy with a big attitude sometimes that can do dumb things, but he's got good intentions. He can even be a warrior. He can even be a warrior now. I mean, come on. Why didn't we just use the design we already had made? They put more resources in redesigning him completely than if they just used the exact same design that they had in Bumblebee. Why didn't they just use that design? Yes, I like Pablo's design, and if he was his own separate character, I would have really liked him. There's so much they could have done with him. He could have been the medic, since we don't have Ratchet in this iteration. He could have been Wheeljack's apprentice or something. A completely new character, an insert character for one of the creators or something. I don't care. Yes, he looks very humanoid, but it's not in a weird, gross way like Jetfire was. There was potential to make your own Transformer that actually could have worked for once. Actually would have made sense for once. I actually could have been behind for once. So why make your own design, make your own personality, make everything your own character, and then decide that he is Wheeljack? It blows my mind. I'm not gonna rant about it anymore, maybe, hopefully, but I'm just so daggone frustrated by it because they retconned a movie just for it. They retconned a part of Bumblebee, which makes the whole continuity timeline thing even more confusing than it already is, with people arguing whether this is a prequel to this or a sequel to this, and okay. Where am I at? What was I even talking about before? Oh, okay, here we go. Optimus Prime. Another thing they didn't learn from Bayformers with. He's still murderous, okay? I don't even believe I can count on one hand the amount of times Optimus goes, I will kill you, I will end your life, I will have your head, yada yada yada, you get the point. I don't even think I can count it on one hand. Whereas in the Bayformers movies, Optimus still had his selflessness about him. That is something I can give Michael Bay for the majority of the films, is that Optimus was always putting others before himself. That is a hallmark of who Optimus is. Even when it comes to killing Megatron in most of the iterations, that is something that is a hard thing for Optimus to do until he gets pushed to the point that he has no choice. That was screwed up in Dark of the Moon, which is also something they should have learned from, but we're not there yet. One of the things that they definitely should have learned from is in the original 2007 movie, whenever Sam's running around with the cube trying to make it so Megatron doesn't get his hands on it, Optimus says, if it comes down to it, put the cube in my spark chamber, I'll sacrifice myself for the greater good. That selflessness was put on full display there, and he was willing to die, willing to lose something that could even help Cybertron, the Allspark, in order to protect humanity. Within this film here, he wouldn't do that. He wanted to keep the key because that's his planet, that's his people, and it's understandable, I completely get it. But the way that it was implemented, the way that it was executed was very stupid, especially given the fact that half the key gets taken because Optimus and Noah stop everything so they can debate whether or not they should destroy it, and in doing that it gets taken, and that could be a life lesson. If it was implemented correctly, it could be something Optimus could have learned from, as well as Noah could have learned from. They have this weird parallel with one another where they have the greater good of their kin in mind, and then it just doesn't really flourish well. It always feels stiff, especially with Optimus and how he talks about humanity and talks about Earth, and it never quite feels like he cares about anybody except for the Autobots, and that's not normally how he's portrayed. He wouldn't be the kind of guy to sacrifice indigenous life on a planet in order to save life of his own. That is something that is even brought up within the film itself. Optimus Primal says that he looks up to Optimus. He was named after Optimus. His existence is something that he has been trying to live up to the standards of Optimus. And he was not willing to sacrifice indigenous life to save himself and people he cared about, because he didn't believe that that's something that Optimus would do. And there's moments within the film whenever they look at Primal and they're like, well, if you were in his shoes and you could save our world, wouldn't you do the same thing? The answer is no, because he was in his shoes and he didn't save the world. And we've already seen that. That was the first scene of the movie. He had another chance yet again to just give up the key and save the world they were currently on, and they didn't. It's mind-boggling how many times that the movie feels like it just wraps around itself and it doesn't necessarily have a point to get to. I hope what I just said makes sense, but if it doesn't, it's because I'm just ranting, okay? Leave me alone, let me have this. When it comes to the humans, Noah, I liked his characterization. I liked his character as a whole. I especially liked the fight scene at the end. I like that he was able to actually stand toe-to-toe and put up a fight. As a human, it shows the determination we would have to save our planet against all odds. In Dark of the Moon, humans were willing to send the Autobots off planet, but they weren't willing to stand and fight for themselves until it was already too late. The ones that were willing were the ones that were the little guys, the civilians, or the ones that weren't on duty as military right now that wanted to protect civilians. Not the on-duty military people. They were more worried about themselves. That is an idea that I actually really liked. In the end, civilians taking up arms to protect themselves and protect their world, because regardless of their background, of their financial situation, of their life, of the atrocities they've witnessed in this war and in wars that they've seen and been a part of, as in Noah's case, he's still willing to stand and fight. Even though now he's off duty, he has no real weapons of his own, he was willing to stand there, he was willing to do what it takes to protect the planet, and in doing so he was rewarded a way to do so, as in rewarded a way to fight. I don't know why I said it like that. I realized that it sounded stupid after it came out of my mouth, but I really like that aspect, and I think that as a point it did a really good job, especially when it comes to the end credit scene. Apart from characters themselves, although I do wish that the Beasts, the Maximals, had more time to be a part of the Dad Blame movie that they're named after, The real issue with the film was the threat level, to me, anyway. For example, they killed off Bumblebee. Oh, big move, right? There's probably people gasping in your theater. No, there wasn't. It's because we know he's coming back. We've killed off Optimus so many times in these live action movies. Poof the magic dragon, he's back. We killed off Bumblebee in the last movie. Poof the magic dragon, he's back. You can't raise stakes by killing the same character over and over again because we know he won't be dead forever. And whenever he does come back, I love this scene. It was hyped. The music was perfect. It was fun. I loved it. I had a blast. But it really hurts whenever the main threat, one of the biggest galactic threats, unless you go into the smaller, the more, they're deadly, but they're just like a regular transformer, you know? Unless you go into that whole thing, and we could argue that for a while. One of the bigger in size threats that would be on par with Galactus is literally just a floating mouth doing nothing but yelling insults. And whenever his henchmen, which would be the heralds, the heralds of Unicron, that does sound pretty good, don't it? Actually kill somebody, it's somebody we know isn't gonna be dead forever. Then, whenever a character does die forever, it is the one that was just introduced in a live-action iteration. Airazor did not deserve to die. That was the worst thing they did this film, was kill Airazor. If they're gonna kill somebody we've seen before, and kill them for a while. They should have left Bumblebee dead, and then they could have revived him next movie if they really wanted to, and he could have had a really explosive, really cool scene. They could have used that G.I. Joe cameo from the end and somehow brought him back that way. They didn't have to do it the way that they did, because Airazor dying is just another character we won't be able to have a lot of time with. What I think they should have done is kept the Maximals alive and give them their own movie. Where the frick was Rat Trap anyway? I don't want to get into that. I'm ticked about it. I don't know where he was at. I thought he'd have a cameo appearance where he'd pop up at the end and do something. Pfft, no Rat Trap. I guess he wasn't cool enough. But Cheetor got like maybe 2 lines. Rhinox, I think he said 1. I'm not even sure. Optimus Primal got the majority of the screen time. Airazor had a very good voice actress, got a lot of screen time, and then she died stupidly. Like, her death was so pointless, it didn't necessarily have to happen. I feel like we could have restrained her or something. There could have been another way that they just didn't do. Maybe they could have restrained her, and then whenever they killed Scourge, she would have been broken since he was in her mind, is what she said. Maybe the attack could have actually have been like a rust thing, like the rust plague that is in a lot of Transformers media, and it could have been like affecting her wings, and they chopped them off, and then she wasn't able to fight until they built it back. And that could have even took that could have even took Noah's technical experience into account, and he could have been the one to rebuild them. We could have built stakes without killing off the characters that were just introduced. Pablo could have been killed. I don't give a single dab blame diggity doggone squat about Pablo, but the fact that other people do would have made him to be a good death. Every time they went to kill a character, they backtracked too quick until they killed the one that I don't believe they should have. Especially since it does hurt a standalone movie that could have happened with the Beast Machines, with the Maximals, whatever you would like to call them. That definitely should have and could have happened. Another thing that hurts the threat is again Unicron, especially the last thing he says. The guy begs Optimus. That's the last thing that comes out of his mouth, is a beg. He is a galactic threat. He is practically a god among Transformers. Can you please tell me why he is begging? We spent the entire movie building him up as this huge monster, the destroyer of planets, the wiper outer of races, the absolute demolisher of dimensions. And yet here we are with him begging. The last thing he does is beg. If we're going the route that I think we are, with Megatron getting killed and Galvatron happening because of Unicron, I would rather have Unicron stayed a fearsome force, with the last thing he says being a threat. If you do this, I will. This isn't the last time you see me, or say something that actually relates to Optimus in general, something about another Autobot or something about another planet, something about something that actually makes it seem as if he is still a threat to be reckoned with and all we did was hold him back. The name Unicron should instill fear. It does in almost every iteration that he pops up in. When you hear Unicron, you know he is deadly. Even whenever they made him the center of the planet of the Earth and Transformers Prime, he was a force to be reckoned with, so great that the Decepticons and Autobots had to team up. Megatron and Optimus personally had to fight side by side yet again in order to defeat him. Then whenever he is seemingly gone, you always feel an overwhelming presence, as if he could just come back at any moment, because he's never truly dead, because he didn't beg for his life at the end, because he didn't beg for something to happen at the end, because he was never truly gone, and he knew that. He's powerful forever. He's eternal. He's destruction. Evil cannot be defeated is what Optimus says, but that should have been reflected in how his demeanor is. Unicron did not feel as powerful as he was portrayed, as he was built up to be, and it really hurts any future iterations that even mumbles the word Unicron, because I'm gonna think the last thing he did was beg, plead, bargain with Optimus not to do something, after spending forever having Scourge even be able to fight toe to toe with Optimus and win, the guy who is supposedly powerful than Scourge. That was the thing that he did. Given that this is a sequel to Bumblebee, the fact that Sector 7 was not involved in any way, shape, or form, even at the end, they actually pointed out something completely different at the end with the end credits scene, felt a little bit weird. It kind of just felt off that Sector 7 was never even mentioned, not even by Bumblebee. They never came up, they never had a cameo appearance, anything, and there were multiple moments where they could have had a 10-second scene where Sector 7 is at the museum afterwards, after the whole battle went down, and went, they're back. That's all it could have took. That's all it would have took. It needed to be there just to build that continuity, to show something somewhere. It would have been the perfect moment to have a cameo from John Frick, the Sector 7 dude from the Bayformers movies. If they wanted to align the continuity with that, again, I'm not sure if they're actually going that route or not, but if they were, that would have been the perfect time for that. If they're not, I would love to see him come back in any way, shape, or form. With the cameo at the end with G.I. Joe, he could be a part of G.I. Joe. I just want to see him again. I love the actor. He's got so much charisma that he just eats up the screen for me. He can say anything and I'm there to watch it, okay? I love him. He's great. Make him part of G.I. Joe, which we will talk about in another video. I don't want to get into G.I. Joe here, but the way that this movie is setting up future movies, it could go any way at all. It could make a movie with a spin-off with the Maximals, which is what I want them to do. They could have a spin-off with Galvatron. They could go back to the war between Optimus and Megatron. The new animated movie could actually be a part of this continuity as well. I'm not entirely sure if it is or not, but if it is, then that could be building up something as well. They could go into the entire G.I. Joe versus Transformers thing, or G.I. Joe partnering with Transformers thing. This opened the doors for so much Transformers in the future that it has me hyped. But they need to work on the characterization of their characters, especially if they're going to keep adding more. There wasn't enough screen time for Cheetor, there wasn't enough screen time for Rhinox, they didn't have any lines or anything to discern their personality, and if people don't know who they are, they just seem like background characters, and they're far more than that. Please establish Pablo. I know, I'm sorry. Please establish Pablo as his own character and then bring Wheeljack the way that we saw him to fix that continuity. So the only reason they would have called him Wheeljack, make it a joke, make it a reference to his mentor, make it something like that. Especially since the one that did it, I'm pretty sure was Mirage. I'm 92% sure Mirage is the one that said it, and given the fact that he is the goofiest among them, if you make it a joke, it'll still work. I will accept it, please do it. Maybe make a prequel movie so we can see what actually happened with the Maximals, see the entire conflict with the Terracons. That would have been actually really cool. You can bring Peter Dinklage back. He did an amazing job. You can bring Michelle Yeoh back. I would love to hear her again. She was a perfect Air Raiser. There's so much that can happen now, and I'm so excited for it. I know I'm just over here thinking of a bunch of ideas, ranting about it, but I'm hyped. I love this kind of stuff. I love all the live action movies, even the ones that I have more of a disdain for. There's stuff in it that I can actually get hyped about. You can show me a fight scene from The Last Night. There's some things I don't like even about that, with the way that all the CGI meshes together, but I can still enjoy it for what it is, apart from the rest of the film. Some of the humor in The Last Night I still enjoy, even if in general I'd give that sucker a 4, or maybe even just barely a 5, barely make that thing average just for the CGI. We have ourselves the chance to do that Hasbro cinematic universe that was hyped up back when the Battleship movie came out. The freaking Battleship movie should have been the starting point of that. Battleships versus Decepticons, that would have been perfect. Why didn't you do that? I'm still a bit triggered from that, because that's what I thought I was going into. I was pretty disappointed, but I do enjoy the movie. Guilty pleasure, not good movie. Don't watch it unless you want a guilty pleasure movie. But now here we are with G.I. Joe and Transformers confirmed to be the same universe. You can bring Battleship back if you really want to. I don't freaking care. With Reactivate coming out, a Transformers animated movie already confirmed, all the things that could lead up or lead off from this. There is so much Transformers to look forward to, and I hope you stick by me while we do it. But until then, for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great googly moogly day. What in the frick? I'm sorry, I'm excited. See ya.